Bedros used to go around and just really ask every single one of the franchise partners, what's your biggest bottleneck? And then how he can help resolve that. And then at some point, I kind of slid in the fact that, oh, and by the way, I'm having a hard time from a bandwidth perspective because my outside sales gig is really kind of inhibiting my ability to spend more focus and time on the sales and marketing of my own business. And Bedros stops. He's like, wait, what? What other sales gig? So as I communicate this, B got all intense, fired up, and he's like, Bryce, are you serious about growing your business? Or are you serious about growing your business? And at that point, literally the room got silent.
Welcome to the Fitness CEO Podcast.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Fitness CEO Podcast. I am Bryce Henson, your fitness CEO, and today's episode is how to develop more focus. Man, when I was putting this episode together and some key takeaways, it reminded me to Bryce 1.0, which Bryce 1.0 unfortunately lacked a lot of focus. So I'm going to uncover the kimono, if you will, and give you a little insight to some stories that really shined a light on my lack of focus, and then the action steps and lessons that I learned to develop that focus, which is really what I want to share with you today. So if you're new to the channel, I started my fitness business journey back in November of 2012. And if you've been part of the show, I shot an episode a few months ago. This will be a refresher. I'll give you the cliff notes here, but I was excited. I was passionate about fitness. I was fired up. Fitness had changed my life, and I was just more than ready to launch a fitness business. And I always had this entrepreneurial mindset. And even before, about a year before, I was looking at all sorts of businesses from franchise concepts. Specifically, I was looking at the trends from a data perspective. And I saw, even this is more than 10 years ago at the time of the recording, but I saw a big trend with the baby boomer population. As the population is getting older, this population are going to be needing different, services like, care and nursing home, et cetera. And I was really interested because I saw a big opportunity and a big value that I could fill in the market. Deep down, something wasn't right. And I think really what I uncovered, this wasn't my true passion. While I saw some value from the dollars and cents and from a business data perspective, what I realized is my passion was fitness. My passion was health. My passion was helping other people in the process. So over a long period of time, over about 3 to 6 months, I ended up coming across Mr. Bedros Keuilian, who's a dear friend, business coach and mentor and business partner of mine to this day, who's also the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp. And I got on his email list and I started learning a little bit about how to launch a fitness business, how to grow a fitness business, and how to, be very successful within the industry. After a series of events, decided to do the most exciting, but also the scariest endeavor in my life and invest my life savings in this little dream of business ownership. And I opened Fit Body Bootcamp in a city called Yorba Linda, which is a really kind of sleepy town in North Orange County, which is near Disneyland. And I was just over the moon excited. The problem was, as I opened in November, which is a very bad time for fitness gyms in North America because of the winter season, and more specifically because of the holiday season. So that wasn't really in my favor. And also too, when I look back over a decade ago, our business systems and our franchise business systems nearly they were today, or they are today, I should say. So there's a few other things to kind of work through. But while the first 2 months I kind of endured, I was excited, but the passion, not necessarily the passion, but the newness of the endeavor was wearing off. And, as the holidays approached, I was really looking forward to a big New Year's surge, which happens. But I actually thought that the New Year's surge was going to happen January 2nd, the day after New Year's, and off to the races we go. What I realized, especially in the coaching and the fitness business, that really the biggest months of fitness are February and March, because there's typically a little New Year's hangover. So it wasn't until the end of January where the business started picking up. So at that period of time, the second week of January, I had this freak out moment. I reach out to my franchise business coach. He ends up reaching out and looping in Bedros, and I have a 2-hour meeting on a Saturday, and I was sharing my concerns, sharing my woes, sharing my frustrations and my, uncertainty of the path ahead. And Bedros and my other business coach at the time, like good business coaches, took a step back, asked me some clarifying questions, saw some holes in my marketing game. And like a good student, I took notes of those holes, if you will, and I took action. And the good news is, as I articulated an episode a few months ago, over a period of 60 days, my business started to grow. And that was early 2013, since my business launched in 2012. And really 2013, the latter half, Q2, Q3, and Q4 were a time of exponential growth. The rest is history. I ended up opening 5 locations over a handful of years, the following handful of years, which is very true. However, I want to pick up today the story where I left off, because while I took action and really bettered my business over the course of that following year, bettered it to the fact, or to the point that in 2014 in January, I was so fired up and the success was there, I decided to launch my second location with my kid sister, Emma. And that was a really exciting time. I was the owner and the integrator of the business, which is terminology that we use here at Fit Body Bootcamp behind the scenes. My sister was the head coach, and very excited we were to launch our second business. And off the races that we went. However, the problem was my second location did not grow as quickly over the first handful of months as my first location did after I got through that stumbling block in January from the story that I just articulated. So as you would imagine, I'm a year and a half in, I have business experience, my first location's thriving, and my second location, it's not like it's not being successful, it's just not thriving to the level that I thought it would from a pacing perspective when I looked at my first location. So I had some frustrations for sure. So fortuitously, I was staring at the barrel of a mastermind workshop, which a mastermind specifically to Fit Body is a leadership coaching program that we have really to develop more leadership skills within our franchise partners who want more personal growth and want more leadership experience. And at the time, Bedros was running the program. Nowadays, myself and my brother Barrett, who's our executive director of coaching and profitability, run the program. But I was excited because we had 3 workshops over the course of the year. And typically when you go into the workshop, the Bedros at the time and the list of other keynote speakers poured a lot into us from a sales, marketing, operation lens to give us the tangible takeaways to further develop our business. I was there. I was excited. I soaked it all in. And the latter half of day 2, there was a hot seat day. And hot seat, which is really kind of group coaching, Bedros used to go around and just really ask every single one of the franchise partners there, what's your biggest bottleneck? And then how he can help resolve that. So I was there with my bottlenecks, my data, and as I articulated my issues to Bedros, my bottlenecks, if you will, like a good business coach, started asking some more clarifying questions and very quickly realized there were some sales things, there were some marketing things, there were some team development initiatives that I could take better action on. And then at some point, I kind of slid in the fact that, and by the way, I'm having a hard time from a bandwidth perspective because my sales gig, my outside sales gig is really kind of inhibiting my ability to spend more focus and time on the sales and marketing of my own business. And Bedros stops. He's like, wait, what? Wait, what? We're going to back this up here. And he's like, what other sales gig? And I was like, well, B, when I first launched the business, as you know, I invested my life savings in this endeavor and I didn't have a lot of working capital. So I've kept my sales gig. And over the course of the last 12 months, I've worked with my manager to decrease some of my responsibility. But, I still have that. And, it's a work from home setup. And this is, by the way, this is far before COVID and all that. But I had a kind of remote setup, which was really advantageous. So it provided me some flexibility to focus on my Fit Body Bootcamp locations. But as you would imagine, and as Bedros very clearly understood at that period of time, it was limiting my bandwidth to actually grow my business. So as I communicated this to B got all intense, fired up, and he's like, Bryce, are you serious about growing your business? Or are you serious about growing your business? Your lack of focus is inhibiting your growth at your Fit Body Bootcamp locations. And at that point, literally the room got silent. And part of me was embarrassed, very candidly, because Bedros is a hard-charging, awesome entrepreneur, visionary, and business coach. The other part of me, though, very candidly, was actually very grateful, and it gave me confidence because I knew in that moment of time, he had even a higher expectation for me than I probably did for myself. So ironically, it embarrassed me a little bit, but it also gave me this confidence that a mentor of mine, a guy that I look up to that gave me such great business advice, would actually hold me in that high regard to give me the direct feedback and coaching that I needed to be successful. That aside, I knew, literally like a lightning bolt that went through my body at that moment in time, I realized my lack of focus, my side hustle, okay, which in fairness gave me the ability to launch my business, was actually, 18 months down the road, was inhibiting my growth. And it was at that moment I knew that I needed to freaking go all in at my business, and if I wanted to take my business seriously enough to grow it to the next level. So as a good teammate and a good business owner and entrepreneur, I went home after that weekend and I reached out to my lead, who I'd been working with for a very long time. I didn't give him a 2-week notice. I gave him a 2-month notice to do things right, to make sure that the transition was really strong. And at that point, like I said, I had reduced some of the responsibility anyway, so it wasn't a huge travesty, but I wanted to make sure that I, did things right. And you guessed it, magically, after the 2-month transition, over the following 3 months, not only did I recoup my salary that I was being paid for from the sales position, including my commission, but over the following 6 months after that, so for the tail end of 2014 into 2015, I literally doubled the revenue that I was generating from my sales gig, all because I decided to have a strong area of focus, to stop dabbling on my side hustle and then freaking go all in with a clear zone of focus and genius. And my friends, that is my message today, and hopefully that story resonated. When I look back, when I unpack that, there's 5 key takeaways and strategies that I want to help that Bryce version 1.0, and hopefully help you in the process to level up yourself, remove the distractions from your business and from your life, and you can focus on the things that are most important, aka business growth, and that way you can live a fulfilling life. This all said, I want to break it down. The 5 key takeaways are this. Number 1, you need to start with your passion. And if you heard at the very beginning of the story, before I even opened up my first location, I was looking at all sorts of business endeavors, and specifically looking at, from a data perspective, how to service the baby boomer population. And while that was noble, and I don't think there's anything wrong of making smart business decisions looking at trends, what I also know to be true is that you gotta find something that you're passionate about, because even the best business model, guess what? You know this to be true at life. You're gonna eventually hit roadblocks. You're going to hit friction. You're going to hit resistance. And the late Steve Jobs of Apple said that you got to follow your passion and go all in your passion, not this woo-woo advice, practical business experience, because when you hit the resistance, if you're not passionate about it, eventually you're going to give up. And that would be a travesty to you, to your clients, your team, and your family. So for me, I want to articulate whatever it is for you. If you're watching this, my guess it's fitness, it's business. Go all in your passion, and that's worked for me for sure when I hit those stumbling blocks. And I just gave you 2 stumbling blocks in the story. Entrepreneurship, my entrepreneurship journey is riddled with a bunch of stumbling blocks, but that's just part of any entrepreneur's journey as well. So if you find something you're passionate about, you're way more inclined to focus in, not get distracted by all the things that can distract you in life. Number 2, and way more than woo-woo and passion-based focus, which is really important, that you need to take the time, take a step back, and find a proven strategy, find a blueprint that you know works. And I think this is really important in business and sales. We talk about this, and this is a saying that I really buy into: slow is smooth, and then smooth is fast. So a lot of times what I see is business owners or entrepreneurs, they jump into something without doing the proper diligence, and all of a sudden they jump in, both feet in, and then they realize they actually didn't find a proven blueprint that works. And then guess what? Another idea comes up, and like squirrel, they jump to the other idea, and that's just chasing distraction after distraction after distraction. And why that's a travesty is, the end of the day, no matter what you do, in order to be successful, you are going to have to stay committed for the long term. And I say, take a decade view. Now, the problem though is if you just jump into something without doing a proper diligence, then you're more susceptible to being succumbed to distractions and the flavor of the week. Now, that said, I'm not saying that you need to research 10 years on a business model or a blueprint. That's just not the case, but you want to spend some time. As an example, if you're interested in fitness, I would imagine you are, there's a lot of different types of fitness, okay? You can be a health coach, a general health coach. You can be a mindset coach. You can be a fitness and fat loss coach. You can be an online coach. You can be a nutrition coach. You can be a brick and mortar boot camp coach to be able to build a community. All those things will help your client receive a better life, a better experience, and better result, ultimately ultimately a better life, but they're all different modalities. So take a step back, do a little bit of research, 2 to 3 months, figure out what really, is most not only passionate for you, but a blueprint that works. And then once you find a blueprint that works, maybe it's the Fit Body Bootcamp model. Awesome. It's a freaking proven business model, or maybe it's something else. That's okay too, but do the diligence to find a proven model, a blueprint that works. Once you do that diligence, it's time to freaking go all in, put the blinders on, and take a 10-year, decade view. And if you do that, you are increasing the probability. You're going to remove the distractions, and you're going to be more hyper-focused if you spend a little bit more upfront time doing your diligence. Lesson number 3. Many times, to be successful in business and in life, it's not necessarily addition, it's actually subtraction. So for me, the glaring subtraction in this particular story was my side hustle, okay? Now, if I look back, if I would have done it differently, I would actually have done the same way initially. And the reason that is because I invested my life savings. I didn't have a lot of working capital. This is Bryce 1.0 is my end of my 20s. I had developed some salesmanship skills, and I had a little bit money saved up, but I invested all that to get the doors open. So I actually genuinely needed some working capital. And I think there's something to be said for a side hustle to start. However, if you're looking to have a dual side hustle long term, that is where you need to reduce and you need to create a singularity of focus. And for me, I stayed with that side hustle for 18 months roughly after the start of my gym. And I think if I would have done it differently, I would have started with the side hustle. But after about 6 months, once the business had the foundation, a solid base of clients, I would remove that, because what happened for me is my business exponentially grew in both occasions, as I just articulated. And that's a really big key message here. So many times growth happens, focus happens from subtraction rather than addition. Now, that all said, I also just released an episode, maybe a couple months ago. I believe it's episode 132, which also talks about reducing, for me, alcohol in my life. And I have a problem with alcohol, so it's a very good thing that I removed that from my life. I'm a recovering alcoholic. But for you, it might be alcohol, it might be drugs, it might be porn, it might be sugar, it might be food, it might be social media, it might be scrolling. Whatever it is for you, chances are you are human. We are human, and we have vices. These are coping mechanisms, if you will. So this is a very intimate call to action for you. All right? Take an inventory. What are you doing in excessive amounts that is distracting your main focus, okay? You don't have to tell me. You don't have to comment in below. But if you want to, you can for self-accountability. But really have a heart-to-heart with yourself and realize, what do I need to remove from my life so that way my life can be better? And my friend and also business partner, Diana Kulian, who's Bedros' wife, shot an awesome episode on how she removed alcohol from her life. And she's not an alcoholic like I am. The question that she asked, which was brilliant, I saw it so brilliant. She asked, don't ask yourself if you have a problem. Ask yourself, is this making my life better? And maybe you have a problem with alcohol like me, or maybe you don't. But if you look at that, whether it's drug, alcohol, or any of the vices I just listed, and you have a heart-to-heart and a really honest conversation with yourself, maybe you don't have a problem, but the question, is it making your life better? And is it distracting you? And if it is, then you know what to do. And if you need help, reach out like I did, in my case, to a 12-step program that really, really helped me. And that would be sage advice that's really exponentially grown my life and also my business, which I want to articulate for you. Number 4, once you have a passion-based business, once you have the blueprint, once you know the things that you need to remove from your life, subtraction versus addition, then you need to start focusing on the 3 highest impact and income skills, which are leadership, salesmanship, and marketing. And let me preface this. When I first started my business, my fitness business, as I articulated earlier, I was the jack of all trades. I had to do a lot and wear a lot of different hats, which is okay. I was the sales guy. I was the head coach. I was the bookkeeper. I was the janitor. I was the social media guy. I was doing all these things. And kind of similar to the side hustle analogy, to start, that's okay. I needed to do all those things because of funding and also gaining more experience. But then as my business started to grow, as I started to attract more clientele, okay, what I started to realize is the 3 areas of focus that are really going to move the needle. If I develop my leadership skills, if I develop my salesmanship skills even further, and if I develop my marketing skills, because those are high income and high impact skills. And if you have that focus mindset, if you have a North Star and the skill sets that you want to acquire, you are way more, likely to stay with it and stay on the path towards success versus getting distracted and having the idea fairy come up because of the flavor of the week or the month. And last but certainly not least, which is a common theme of my coaching, number 5 is hire an accountability coach or get an accountability buddy. And I always recommend human nature. If you can pay for an accountability buddy or coach, you are far more likely to succeed because there's something magical happens when you change or when you exchange energy. And all money is a tool to exchange value. So when you exchange money, you actually increase your accountability. But even not, most people, what I've learned in the coaching business for over a decade, close to a decade and a half now, people are way more likely to disappoint themselves than other people. So if you have an accountability partner, and better yet, if you can hire a coach or a guide, you are way more likely to stay focused. And in this case, as I hired Bedros as my guide to give me the tough love that I needed in that particular moment. And you can, look at a lot of different examples of this. The famous Arnold Schwarzenegger is famously quoted many times over saying the way he was able to develop himself from a bodybuilding perspective is he always had a training partner because he was able to push his training partner and vice versa. And that helped him accountable. And more importantly, it helped keep him less distracted and way more focused at the task at hand. If it works for Arnold, if it works for me, my friend, it's definitely going to work for you. With all that said, I want to put a bow on this particular episode. Those are the 5 takeaways to help you remove distractions and create a singularity of focus. And hopefully you got some value. If you did, go ahead and drop some comments in the comment section. I would love to know, have you resonated or aligned with any of the action steps to increase your focus that I laid out today? And or is there some other strategy that you've used that also can help as well? If you drop that in the comment, I would love to digest that and maybe even shoot another episode for that. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And as always, as I sign off, remember, no one is coming to save you. You must save yourself, and the time is now. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.